Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm on another walk. And I've returned to Whiteways, which is off the A29. I say return because I came here in, it was the autumn time, and I wanted to look at the autumn colours of the trees and the leaves. And I don't know if you remember, I was having trouble with my gimbal, and I had a bit of wobbly cam on that one. I've come back because now it's winter. One of the things I want to do is to look at the different seasons and just appreciate really what goes on during those seasons in a visual way, I guess. And so I was wandering around the trees around here. So it's not much of a sort of walk, but more of a kind of wander. Does that make sense? Yes. I was also, when I came here before, was fascinated and impressed, of course, by the wonderful beech trees. I love beech trees. It looks like they've been doing quite a bit of trimming and chopping. So we'll have a look at that and see what other things we can see. This is a magnificent beast, this one here. If beast is the appropriate word. Everything's a bit wet and damp. It's been raining. We've had so much rain recently, I think everywhere. Of course it is winter. We're very lucky that we haven't had any snow. So the ground is very damp, but I guess that is good for the trees because they're able to, as they start to prepare for the spring, I guess the water, and I don't know, I'm on no authority on any of this. This is why I'm exploring and occasionally cogitating that they're, getting the energy from the water, which also must bring up the nutrients as well, I suppose. But it's lovely to see all this green moss and then the lichen as well on the trees. Such a beautiful, wonderful shape. That's what I like about beech trees, the shape. Every one unique and different with their own story to tell. Here I'm wandering through some birch trees. This little whole section of this woodland here, full of birch, and I love birch for the strange and peculiar bark that it has. I suppose it's not really strange or peculiar. There's a fine mist as well here that sort of feel like it's going to rain at any second, which is very annoying because I've got my expensive camera rather than the GoPro because I wanted to get some better pictures. So I'm hoping I don't have to abort. But it is lovely. This is a nice wood here. I think it's Houghton Woods, if I remember rightly, where in the book that we've been following fairly recently, Walter Wilkinson and his puppet show came here and camped somewhere the night back in I think late 20s, early 30s. Here he avoided a policeman, which was quite a comical moment in the Sussex Peep Show, is the name of the book. But you can come in and you can just wander around as you so wish, which is rather lovely. And of course there is lots of nature to look at, and birds. I don't know if you can hear the birds chirping, but clearly probably the best times to come is really early in the morning or late at night. Otherwise you've got lots of people wandering around frightening the wildlife off, I should think. I've noticed that there are some marks on the trees, quite a few of them, these orange slashes. There's quite a number of them actually all around here that have been identified. I don't know whether that's because means the trees have got to come down, or that they've got some disease that needs to be treated, but clearly it's an indication of something. Sometimes you see them and I've been, and it actually just shows you where the walk is. You go along and then they've put somebody's painted a big yellow square on them, and that's a little bit more obvious because you'll see them on the trail. But I think this usually means something's got to happen to the trees, which is always a shame when I see that. It looks like an ash tree to me. This is a fascinating tree, isn't it? Look at this. The actual tree has fallen, but it hasn't died. They've got the roots poking out over there. And I love this. You see this all the time. But these branches have shot up from since, I think, since it fell. So although this main stem is alive and kicking, but is not getting the light, in order to feed the tree and to keep its life pulsating, these branches, which now almost become trunks, have grown up. And if left, I know it's got these yellow marks on them, but if left, maybe in time what will happen is this lower part will rot away, these will take root, and they will become trees in their own right, and they'll use this as part of its food. That's what I understand. Don't quote me on that. It might be wrong, but it's the fact that it's still getting the nutrients from the ground even though it's fallen over, and there's life from these amazing branches. Very, very solid, wonderful, thick things. This is all on its own here in this woodland, surrounded by, well, birch and beech and some ash, I think. And then there's this thorny shrub tree. I think it must be blackthorn. It's got very precise thorns, and it's supposed to be bad, I think, or poisonous or something. I seem to have in the back of my head if you get pricked by the thorns. Now it could be hawthorn, but I don't think so. I think it's much more vicious than that, but it is here completely on its own. So I'm just wondering if there's any of its mother trees, or whether the seed fell, perhaps one of the berries was carried by a bird, and perhaps the seed was pooed out, fell on the ground and took seed, and here it is, because there seems to be no other ones in this vicinity. But it just tiny, tiny little buds are ready to explode in there. If I can remember where it is, I'll have to come back and have a look. One of the pleasures, I suppose, of grey, miserable days, especially during lockdown where you're in the house and you're desperate to get out, and your house might be full of people, of course, and you're all struggling together, that getting out on one of these slightly damp, greyish days is there's fewer people in the landscape than perhaps on a brighter day. It does seem in the last 12 months since we started this lockdown thing that more people are getting out into the countryside, and that's a good thing, of course, so please don't think I'm knocking that by any means. I think that's wonderful. But sometimes you're just getting out to be on your own, to take stock, to think about things, to mull things over, and you just want that peace of mind of being alone and with your own thoughts and in nature. And I don't know if you're like me, that you find that when other people are around, it can intrude on your thoughts. Even though it's nice to see people out and exercising, I'm not saying that, but I think often I get misunderstood when I make certain statements in these videos, which I can't really do anything about. I probably need to be a better communicator, I think. And so sometimes, when you're feeling a bit down and you've got problems, just being out in the open like this, taking that time to still your mind, to meditate, ruminate, cogitate, is just beautiful, isn't it? And that is one of the reasons why these are amazing oases, and we need them. And we need more of them, especially as the population expands, and particularly if more people going forward in the future are likely to want to continue getting out if they've never experienced it before, and that lockdown has actually made them think, do you know what, we've been missing things all our lives. We will get out more and more when life turns back to normal. We need more of these, and we need to look after them. There's a lovely bit of fungus here, or fungi, whatever you want to call them, on this birch tree. Beautiful thing. I have got books on toadstools and mushrooms and fungi, and it's not the easiest thing to try and learn and remember. There's so many variations of very similar things. I don't know if you've ever tried to do it, and you look at them and you think, oh, I wonder if it's this. How people manage to study this stuff, I don't know. Trees, I think it's so much easier because you can look at them. There's only so many native trees and so many species in this country. In other countries and around the world, there's huge numbers, of course, and trying to identify them can be a problem, but at least in this country it's a little bit easier. Trying to remember which are native and which have been imported is a little more tricky in my tiny brain. But when it comes to things like fungus on the trees, I have so much admiration for those that can remember and are able to just identify them. I suppose if you're doing that's your research that you're doing over a long time, of course, but when, like me, you're just coming across things and you might look them up and you go, oh yeah, that's so and so, and then 2 days later it's gone. It's blooming gone. It's so frustrating. I love the way that the beech leaves, look at these beautiful now golden brown leaves, just hang on to the trees. They've lasted all through the winter. All the other trees, all the other deciduous trees, leaves have long gone, and yet beech still hangs on to them. I think that's remarkable. And you often see hedges, don't you, that are this browny, golden brown colour, and when the sunlight hits it, it reflects it in a rather magnificent way. I think that's gorgeous. And I want to try and, if I can, watch what happens as the new buds come along and start to open, and at what point these finally fall off, because if I tug them, they are still securely on. It won't just give up lightly. So I find that quite amazing. Well, I think that's my little wander today in the woods. It's actually brightening up a little bit later on. Maybe I'll go back to the van and to have a nice cup of coffee and something to eat. But that's it from Houghton Wood. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. That always helps on the channel. And I'd just like to say thank you to all the new subscribers who have subscribed, and all the new patrons who have also helped to keep me going, to bring you these videos. Sometimes good, sometimes not quite so good, sometimes a bit contentious, sometimes all over the place. But you know, I'm trying to do my best during these very difficult times with all the restrictions. So thank you very much for all your support and encouragement. I do really appreciate it. And I hope that I can continue to make these videos and bring something of the outdoors to those people particularly who are stuck indoors. And if you're in the area, this is a fantastic place to come and explore. Anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye, bye-bye. Bye-bye, old chum.